Hello and welcome to my channel World History Explored. France's history dates back to ancient times, with early inhabitants including Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. The region was known as Gaul to the Romans, and Celtic tribes dominated before the Roman conquest in the 1st century BC. Discuss France's ongoing struggles with economic instability, social integration, and security threats, highlighting the nation's resilience in upholding its values amidst adversity. A condensed history of France. France's roots stretch back to the Iron Age when the Romans called Gaul. Various groups like the Gauls, Aquitani, and Belgae inhabited the land. The Romans, Greeks, and Carthaginians established colonies in the region. Gaul eventually became part of the Roman Republic, blending Roman and local cultures. In medieval times, Frankish King Clovis I united Gaul, laying the groundwork for Frankish dominance. The Kingdom of France emerged from Charlemagne's empire and thrived under the House of Capet. Wars like the 100 Years' War and the French Revolution shaped France's identity. Napoleon's reign led to the French Empire and regime changes until the French Third Republic. France played critical roles in world wars and underwent decolonization in the mid-20th century. Today, France remains influential globally in economics, culture, and politics. The land's history stretches even further back, with evidence of pre-human ancestors and the arrival of Homo sapiens around 43,000 years ago. Various cultures rose and fell, leading to Roman expansion into Gaul, which integrated the region into the Roman Empire and birthed a unique Gallo-Roman culture, Greek influence, and Roman conquest. In 600 BC, Ionian Greeks established the colony of Massalia, present-day Marseille, one of the oldest cities in France. Concurrently, Celtic tribes began to migrate into eastern France, with widespread settlement occurring between the 5th and 3rd centuries BC. During this period, they witnessed conflicts between Greeks, Celts, and Ligurians, and the Gaulish invasions of Rome, led by Brennus. However, the tribal society of Gauls presented challenges to Roman expansion, leading to decisive victories for Rome in battles like Sentinum and Telamon. The Romans eventually conquered Gaul under Julius Caesar, founding cities like Lugdunum, Lyon, and Narbonensis, Narbonne. Though marked by Gaulish resistance under leaders like Vercingetorix, the Gallic Wars ultimately resulted in Roman domination and cultural assimilation. Gaul was subsequently divided into provinces, and Celtic culture gradually led to Gallo-Roman civilization. Despite intermittent upheavals and migrations, Gaul remained under Roman control for centuries, with significant contributions to the Roman Empire, coming from Gaulish-born figures like Emperors Claudius and Caracalla. However, the Roman Empire's grip on Gaul weakened in the 4th century, paving the way for the arrival of Germanic tribes and the eventual collapse of Roman authority in the region. Frankish Consolidation and Carolingian Dynasty. In 486, Clovis IV of the Salian Franks conquered much of northern and central Gaul, establishing the Merovingian dynasty. By converting to Catholicism in 496, Clovis gained legitimacy and support from his Christian subjects, enabling him to defeat rivals like the Arian Visigoths at the Battle of Vouillé in 507. However, Clovis's death in 511 fragmented his kingdom among his sons, leading to the emergence of separate Frankish kingdoms. Meanwhile, the mayors of the palace, originally advisors to the kings, wielded increasing power, relegating the Merovingian kings to figureheads. The Frankish kingdoms faced threats from Muslims in Hispania, culminating in the pivotal Battle of Tours in 732, where Charles Martel, mayor of the palace, repelled invading forces. In 751, Pepin the Short, Charles Martel's son, seized the throne, establishing the Carolingian dynasty. Under Pepin's son, Charlemagne, Carolingian power reached its zenith, with Charlemagne's conquests uniting much of Western Europe. Charlemagne's coronation as Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III in 800 marked a significant milestone, solidifying Carolingian rule and forging closer ties between the Frankish kingdom and the papacy. However, the Carolingian Empire eventually fragmented after Charlemagne's death, with the Treaty of Verdun in 843 dividing the empire among his grandsons. The subsequent rise of the Robertines and the emergence of Norman settlers in Normandy laid the groundwork for the eventual rise of the Capetian dynasty in the Kingdom of France, rise of strong princes, and the consolidation of monarchical power. During the Middle Ages, France was decentralized, with princes wielding significant power at the king's expense. In the 11th century, entities like Normandy, Flanders, and Languedoc operated almost as independent kingdoms. The Capetians, descendants of the Robertians, initially had dual roles as kings and powerful princes. Successive rulers sought to consolidate royal authority, with Hugh Capet laying the groundwork in 987, by uniting various territories under his rule. His successors, like Robert the Pious and Louis VI, faced challenges from powerful vassals, but gradually asserted royal control. Louis VI, aided by advisors like Abbot Suger, combated unruly nobles and strengthened the monarchy. His son, Louis VII, expanded royal influence further, notably through his marriage to Eleanor of Aquitaine. The late Capetian kings, particularly Philip II Augustus, significantly expanded the royal domain, confronting the Angevin Empire and annexing territories like Normandy and Anjou. Under Louis IX, France became more centralized, with the king wielding significant authority. Despite challenges such as the 100 Years' War, subsequent kings like Philip IV strengthened royal power, marking the transition towards absolutism in the 16th century. The era of Louis XIV and French expansion. Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, ruled France from 1643 to 1715, leaving a lasting impact on the nation's history. During his reign, Louis centralized power in Paris, weakening the aristocracy and establishing an absolute monarchy. Despite his efforts to strengthen France, his rule was marked by costly wars that drained the treasury. France engaged in conflicts such as the League of the Rhine, the Franco-Dutch War, and the War of the Spanish Succession. These wars, while sometimes resulting in gains for France, often ended inconclusively and depleted resources. Louis XIV also sought to promote French culture, patronizing the arts and establishing French opera. However, his reign was not without controversy, as evidenced by the persecution of Protestants under the Edict of Fontainebleau. Louis XIV's ambitions and military endeavors shaped France's role in Europe and laid the groundwork for subsequent developments in French history. France's transformations, 1718-1783. During the 18th century, France experienced significant political and military changes under Louis XVI. In the ensuing wars, the country was embroiled in conflicts such as the War of the Quadruple Alliance and the War of the Polish Succession, which reshaped European alliances and territories. These conflicts often spilled over into colonial territories, particularly in North America. France ultimately lost its foothold after the Treaty of Paris in 1763, marking the end of its North American empire. Despite these setbacks, France sought to regain its strength, annexing territories like Lorraine and aligning with the United States during its fight for independence from Britain. This alliance with America turned the tide of the American Revolution and contributed to France's resurgence on the global stage. Meanwhile, the French Enlightenment flourished, with prominent intellectuals like Voltaire and Rousseau shaping the era's philosophical discourse. These years set the stage for the monumental changes of the French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, whose rule would further transform France and Europe. France's long 19th century, 1815-1914. France's journey in the 19th century was one of turmoil and transformation. From the aftermath of Napoleon's reign to the brink of World War I, the country saw frequent changes in leadership, political instability, and societal upheavals. Despite these challenges, France underwent significant developments that shaped its modern identity. The era witnessed the rise and fall of empires, including Napoleon III's ambitious projects and subsequent defeat in the Franco-Prussian War. The establishment of the Third Republic brought about modernization and social reform attempts amidst ongoing tensions between conservative and revolutionary forces. France expanded its influence globally through colonial ventures throughout this period, particularly in Africa and Southeast Asia. Despite facing resistance and criticism, French colonialism aimed to spread French culture and civilization, often under the guise of a civilizing mission. However, anti-colonial movements and the aftermath of World War II eventually led to the dismantling of the empire, marking the end of an era. France's colonial legacy continues to influence its cultural, social, and political landscape today, reflecting the complexities of its history and the enduring impacts of its imperial past. French population trends and world wars. From 1911 to 1936, France's population remained steady, but concerns arose about its size compared to Germany's rapid growth. After World War II, France experienced a baby boom, reversing its low birth rates. Immigration, especially from former colonies, also increased population growth, reaching 60 million by 1990. However, the farming population declined significantly. World War I. 1914, France didn't anticipate war, but when it erupted in August, the nation rallied for 2 years. They sent infantry repeatedly against German defenses, facing devastating losses. Despite setbacks like the loss of industrial areas, France churned out vast amounts of weapons, arming both their troops and American forces. By 1917, French infantry neared mutiny, feeling it was America's turn to lead the charge against Germany. However, they regrouped, thwarting the formidable German offensive of spring 1918. As the invaders crumbled, November 1918 ignited French pride and unity, demanding vengeance. Preoccupied with internal issues, France was caught off guard by the Balkan Crisis 1914, igniting World War I. With Austria's attack on Serbia triggering alliances, France was at war with Germany. Despite Germany's initial advances, the Marne River became the battleground where the Allies halted their march on Paris. The conflict descended into the infamous trench warfare of the Western Front, marked by brutal battles like Verdun and the Somme. Socialist leader Jean Jaurès' assassination shifted French sentiments, uniting the nation behind the war effort. Yet by 1917, war weariness spread, even among troops, leading to mutinies. A massive offensive ensued with Germany's focus on the Western Front in 1918. However, Allied resilience and the arrival of American forces turned the tide. Austria and Turkey collapsed, and Germany, facing defeat, signed the armistice on November 11, 1918. World War II. Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939 prompted France and Britain to declare war. Still, the response was initially cautious, earning the period the nickname Fauné War in Britain and Drôle de Guerre in France. However, Germany swiftly conquered Poland with its blitzkrieg tactics, aided by the Soviet Union's attack. When Germany turned its attention westward, the Battle of France began in May 1940. Employing blitzkrieg again, German forces circumvented the supposedly impregnable Maginot Line by advancing through the Ardennes forest. Amidst fierce fighting, France suffered heavy losses, with many civilians fleeing south and west, creating one of history's largest mass migrations. Despite the fall of Paris and the evacuation of British and French troops from Dunkirk, France established the Vichy government under Philippe Pétain, signing a harsh armistice with Germany. While Vichy sought to maintain peace with Germany, it collaborated in the deportation of thousands of Jews, highlighting the regime's moral compromise. France's modern challenges. France has faced significant economic and social challenges in the past few decades, alongside heightened security concerns. Starting with the presidency of Jacques Chirac in the late 20th century, France saw a strengthening of its economy, tied closely to its participation in the European Union. However, economic instability persisted, especially during the presidencies of François Mitterrand and Nicolas Sarkozy, which were marked by recessions and global crises like the 2008 financial crash. Meanwhile, France played an active role in international affairs, participating in conflicts like the Gulf War and the NATO intervention in the Balkans, while opposing the Iraq invasion in 2003. Amidst these challenges, France also grappled with tensions arising from its Muslim population. The legacy of Algerian independence brought waves of Muslim immigrants to France, leading to social integration issues, high unemployment rates, and periodic riots in suburbs with immigrant populations. These tensions escalated with the rise of radical Islamism and a series of militant attacks on French soil, including the notorious Charlie Hebdo shooting in 2015 and subsequent attacks in Paris and Nice. These incidents sparked debates about free speech, secularism, and balancing individual rights and national security. Despite these challenges, France has stood firm in upholding its values of liberty, equality, and fraternity. The nation has remained resilient in the face of adversity, with leaders like Emmanuel Macron advocating for unity and resilience against extremism. However, the struggle to reconcile diverse cultural identities and ensure security in an increasingly interconnected world remains an ongoing challenge for France and its people. What factors contributed to the rise and fall of various dynasties and empires throughout France's medieval and early modern history? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to hit the like button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. Your support means a lot to us. Take care until the next one, and feel free to drop a comment sharing your thoughts. See you soon.